Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. I will ride with this group. Seriously, man. Please. And away we go.
You okay there, Judd?
Oh, mic issue.
Yeah,
Mic issue. Mic issue.
Like, what's going on over there?
Up. Oh,
Are you is this what like the Chiefs did at the start of the game yesterday? You thought you were ready for the episode, but
Oh, no. I saw it late. Went to work. I fixed it. I'm troubleshooting here. I'm like my producer, engineer, host. I do all these things now.
true. Yeah.
See, this is the great thing. The home studio. You can troubleshoot yourself.
It is great. Yeah, you can also hit that mute button when you're.
You know what? Actually, in my defense, ordinarily when the show starts, Dex does mute me because of that. So I assume that. I should have looked at it. I did not. So it's my fault. But I was assuming that I got muted because ordinarily I look at the start of each show and I am on mute, which is probably a good idea.
The Chiefs were on mute yesterday in the Super Bowl.
That's not good.
I'm saying.
It was really
welcome. The third ever episode of Purple Daily NFL Takes. We appreciate you embracing our takes outside of just Vikings conversations. So we'll go around the room here and we'll deliver some NFL takes. I'd love to hit you guys with the first one here. I think that the Eagles are the most contrarian NFL champion in recent, maybe modern NFL history. And when I say contrarian NFL champion, I mean that in a league that favors, if not openly encourages passing, because it's more exciting for TV, right? And we want to keep quarterbacks healthy. In a league that favors passing, they ran the ball more than any team in the NFL this season. They passed the ball the fewest. In a league that celebrates crazy blitz schemes, right? Spags, look at how creative. We spent 2 weeks talking about Spags, wild mad scientist, Brian Flores. Look at, there's dialing up these exotic blitzes. The Eagles didn't blitz once the entire Super Bowl and dominated the Chiefs. And in a league where you got a lot of, like, I would say player-friendly coaches, the Sean McVays, the Kevin O'Connells, even like Matt LaFleur, these guys who are, you know, they're good looking, they get along with their players and they're fan favorites. And on the Eagles side, you have Nick Sirianni, rough around the edges, battling with Eagles fans, battling with his own players and coaches. In fact, in a Super Bowl in which you're leading 17-0, the cameras pick Nick Sirianni up, barking back and forth with A.J. Brown on the sidelines. Like, you guys are about to win the Super Bowl. Why are you yelling at each other? And then A.J. Brown, in the end, is the one that dumps the Gatorade over Nick Sirianni's head. So they're zigging where the league is zagging every possible direction, it feels like. And so, I mean, I guess there's a bigger question about copycat league, right? Are people going to try and... I mean, the Ravens are already kind of doing it. They just haven't done it at the high level. But the Eagles, as a contrarian Super Bowl champion, very impressive to me.
Which fits that town perfectly, too. Like, that's the funniest thing is, like, you take the Sirianni act a lot of places. I don't know, it works. In Philadelphia, it works. But yes, and that's my thing. I don't understand. I know they had won 2 consecutive championships. People get tired of that. And Mahomes is great. People get tired of greatness at times, it seems, which is weird. But anyway, they do. But you realize that the biggest group of a-hole fans now have a championship again, right? Like, as people were... I told Dawn that. Because she said, oh, I don't like the Chiefs. I said, why don't you like the Chiefs? The Eagles are... Their fan base is as unlikable as any, probably the most unlikable of any fan base in this entire league. And like now that, you know, because the majority of America was tired of the Chiefs, they're like, now we're happy the Eagles won. It's like, really? You're really happy? So yes, sure. The Philadelphia attitude definitely fits the city. But that being said, too, I was not ecstatic. I was not glad. I actually said, you know what? I hope that the Chiefs win. And, of course, by about halftime, I'm like, Okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, they had to grease the poles even in New Orleans because Eagles fans will climb up and tear
They're
down
such
light
jerks.
poles and stuff.
Why are we happy? Why are we happy?
You know what, though? Nick Sirianni, it is crazy, man. So 4 years now of Nick Sirianni leadership, and it all started with that super nervously awkward introductory press conference where he's talking about, he's like reading while his hands are like shaking as he's reading from his notes. And he's talking about all the systems they're going to put in place. We need to play smart, and to play smart, you have to know what to do. And to do that, we're going to put systems in place. And everyone's like, what? Did he like Google how to be an NFL head coach or something? Right. And so it started off kind of weird. And then they get to the Super Bowl in year 2. And about halfway through the third year, they start losing every game. There's infighting. It looked like he might get fired after the third season. He's on a hot seat even like 2 months into his fourth season. He's been on a hot seat for like half of his 4 years there. And yet when you look up, and again, aesthetically, it's weird because he's cantankerous. He's fighting with people that work for him. But he has the 5th best winning percentage of any NFL head coach in the history of the league going back 100+ years. Mm-hmm. The only 4 guys above him, regular season, this is regular season win percentage, pretty damn good in the playoffs too, are Vince Lombardi, John Madden, Guy Chamberlain, who I believe he was the coach of the Canton Bulldogs in like the early 1920s, the early days of the NFL. And then George Allen, he was Rams and then Washington in the 60s and 70s. Never won a Super Bowl. But that's what we're talking about here with Nick Sirianni. You may not think it by just looking back at the last 4 years. An historic first 4 years as coach of that team. Just crazy.
He is very good. I will say this, though. Howie Roseman, their GM, deserves a ton of credit, too, because that roster, and just as an aside, how Joe Shane, the GM of the Giants, is employed this morning, I have no idea. Like, wild. Like you have on film, you have a documentary of Joe Shane allowing the guy who was one of the reasons why you're not just cohort team, but a team that is in your division that you hate, right? You have documentation on film of him allowing Saquon Barkley to walk away. And he's still employed. Like, I honestly don't get that.
And then, like, I mean, I can see kind of letting a running back go in today's football, obviously.
How he did it.
But then to essentially commit to Daniel Jones, a year before that happened, right? Like, they committed to Daniel Jones instead of a roster and a running game and all these things. It's pretty unforgivable. That would be really hard to watch last night and the whole season if you're a Giants fan, man.
Well, and then you go back and watch that, right?
Eli gets snubbed on the Hall of Fame, and then a couple days later.
But the Hard Knocks thing, right? Like that to me is the indictment, because you watch that, and I mean, his 13-year-old kid is saying, "Don't do this, Dad."
Good. Yeah, pretty. Okay.
I'll go next year. Yeah, I'll go next year. Let's. So I love when the season ends. Obviously, then we get the next batch of odds. So let me run down your Super Bowl odds for 2025. So right now, I'm getting this off DraftKings, by the way. So I'm using DraftKings odds here. The Eagles are the favorite to repeat. They are plus 600. They are alone on top to repeat. Then the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens are batched at plus 700. So they have the second best grouping of odds. After that, the Lions plus 1,000. Then the Niners plus 1,600. So they're saying the Niners are going to have a big resurgent bounce back year. So they have the third best odds to win the Super Bowl next year in the NFC with San Francisco. Washington and the Packers are plus 1,800. They're grouped together. You notice I haven't even come close to the Vikings yet.
Right.
The Bengals are plus 2,000. The Rams plus 2,800. The Chargers are also plus 2,800. The Texans plus 3,000. The Bucks and Broncos plus 3,500. And then your Minnesota Vikings have the exact same odds to win the Super Bowl as the Chicago Bears at plus 4,000.
That's dumb. That's. By the way, just to see if there's any parity here. I went to the ESPN bet odds, pretty similar, but they have the Vikings at 35-1 tied with the Texans and the Bucks just ahead of the Broncos and the Bears at 40-1. And the Niners at 14-1. The Niners are like sixth on both these lists. So, first of all, the Vikings and the Bears should not at all be put in the same bin of Super Bowl contention in 2025. And I don't think that if there was a way to just fade the Niners, which I guess there would be, couldn't you just bet them to, can you bet them to not, can you take field over Niners? I don't know how that works, but like.
You could bet them not to make the playoffs probably. Like that would eventually be a prop if that's what you're saying.
Yeah. But, like, the Niners are reportedly allowing Deebo Samuel to explore trades. Trent Williams is 38. Christian McCaffrey looks like it might just be the end of him being, a top running back in the league. Kittle's 32. Juszczyk is 34. Yep. Fred Warner is getting close to 30 years old. And then they're about to give Brock – now, the Brock Purdy contract wouldn't really hit them on the books for a couple more years. But they're about to hand over maybe $55 million to him and – get into quarterback purgatory. So a lot of this is just almost feels like it's vibes. Like, the Bears hire Ben Johnson, so therefore,
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's vibes, and it's probably largely based on quarterback unknowns, right? Like the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy. You don't know. Well, yeah, you don't know, but
you do know because you just saw Kevin O'Connell do it with Sam Darnold. So you actually do.
You know what? Bring on the disrespect, Declan. Bring it on. DraftKings, bring on that disrespect. This team fed off it for an entire year, but I would agree with Phil. I think that's just dumb. Like that's just trying to be like, well, you don't know enough about the Vikings. And yeah, Ben Johnson. I mean, he might be great. I don't know, but I mean, I would take, like, if you're stacking up things that matter. Let's see, Kevin O'Connell, 3 years in now, known commodity. Ben Johnson has never coached a game. He's called plays, so yeah, I'm with you.
Amen.
Football. All right, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off hard here. Tom Brady was awful. Tom Brady was terrible. Tom Brady had no business. He did exactly what I thought, which, I mean, first of all, keep in mind, he is making, $34 million plus a season to be in that booth. Other than when Burkhardt drew him out about what it's like to lose Super Bowls, which was really intriguing, but as an analyst, like on his own, brought nothing. He also had as far as I could tell, and I went back and watched this, a massive flub. So
on the 15-yard penalty?
On the 15-yard penalty. So Mahomes, and here's the problem. I'm watching at home, turned to Don, who of course didn't care, and said, that's a penalty. Like, he got hit in the face mask. That's the definition of what they're trying to call. They missed it. It took Fox like 3 replays to get to that. Okay, that's cool. And then, so Fox, Mahomes gets hit, fumbles the ball. Philadelphia recovers. I did not see this, but I guess the Philadelphia player went down to the goalpost and dunked the ball, which you can't do now. So they get called 15 yards unsportsmanlike. First of all, Fox, as far as I can tell, didn't show that, which is like, it's the Super Bowl. Show everything.
They did. No, they showed it. I saw him dunk the.
Okay.
They didn't have a great. The camera angle was like a little bit below the goalpost. So you saw him jump up and you didn't see the full thing. But yeah.
But here's the worst part. So Burkhardt's like, oh, hold on a second. They missed that, which should have spurred a discussion, especially because the game was done by then. So at least it's a discussion, right? So Pereira's talking about, he hits his face mask. You know, the rules guy is giving you what happened. And Brady steps in and says, well, I think that they did call that. He thought that was a dead ball penalty.
Yeah.
And of course, the 15-yard penalty, if enforced, gives the ball back to the Chiefs.
Correct. Yeah. But okay, a couple things on this.
He was awful.
One, I don't know. Everyone like hates Tom Brady. I don't think he's as good as Greg Olsen, but I also don't think he's as bad as like you're painting and other people are like, he's trash, he's garbage.
For his job, he's awful.
Dude, there are some really bad color commentators out there. It's still Tom Brady, and I actually put it more on Kevin Burkhardt that they didn't get to the, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time is down by 24 points in a Super Bowl discussion. That's on Burkhardt. If you're Brady, maybe you bring it up on your own, but they didn't get to that. The game was going in that direction, 17-0. Now it's 24-0. And it's like they ignored the biggest connection. You have the two greatest quarterbacks in the history of the league in this building right now. Mm-hmm. Tom won his first Super Bowl in that building there. And if you're Kevin Burkhardt, you got to draw that out of, and I love Kevin, but you got to draw that out of Tom and put Tom needs a little help sometimes getting to the right, stories to tell and the right things to look at.
But at 34 mil, Tom has to be I agree. Tom
what if he
can
made
work
15? Would you
Tom
be less
can work
offended?
Tom can work in studio. Tom could be on Team 5. Like he can broadcast. I don't care. But for him to work a Super Bowl, he doesn't follow the game enough to know what's going on, to tell you exactly chapter and verse, which is what I want, what's going on. He can tell stories. Well, good. Let's sit by the damn fireplace and tell stories. But I want you to be on top of everything. You got to tell me things. He says stuff like, big play here. I'd give the ball to Saquon here. He literally, I believe it was 34 to rip. And he finally says, well, Kevin, that's probably the dagger.
My sense was that he was absolutely thrilled to be watching
I agree,
Patrick Mahomes get daggered, that GOAT status being brought down.
But he's not there to get his jollies. He's there to be outstanding, and he is awful for that job.
I think people are obviously the expectation for him with the money that he makes, which, by the way, the reason I care about what football players make is because there's a salary cap strategy. I don't give a rip what broadcasters make. I don't care what the Fox Sports salary cap is. So I don't care about how much money he makes. But the expectation of he's Tom Brady and he makes all this money, he is supposed to be the best color analyst in the entire league.
Right.
Well, he's not. But it's still to me, it's still interesting that Tom Brady is in the booth, and I think he gives a little more value than maybe you give credit for.
Why does he have the job then, though? By it. He shouldn't be the top guy. Stick him on the 2 team, the 3 team. The other thing is, if I'm Fox, I say today, you either divest yourself of your share in the Raiders and do everything a broadcaster does, or we're done.
I agree on that. The conflict of interest thing is a little odd.
He's not good enough.
And the fact that he does the one-on-one sit down with Mahomes, which, by the way, even conflict of interest, let's do that sit down for sure. It's a generational thing. Yeah. But then he made a mention during the broadcast. He said, we had a chance to talk with the coaches. He I don't know if he let it slip, but he has been banned from those production meetings.
They waived that rule for this game.
For the Super Bowl. Okay.
Yes, they came out and announced that. But the fact is, there are so many guys, there are really good, dedicated former players who want to do that job, and some are really, really good. Because he was a great player does not mean, and we've seen this before, Joe Montana was terrible. Drew Brees, terrible. And guess what? They got bounced quickly.
It's a hard job.
It's a hard job, and it's a job that takes full commitment. He doesn't have it. I'd get rid of him. He's awful.
If you couldn't tell in the last 10 minutes by Judd's rants, there was, by keyword phrasing here in our text message thread, there was 4 texts from Judd complaining about 4 different things. And he laid out most of them right here in the last 10 minutes, but 4 different text
Judd's
messages.
Been bitching about Brady
throughout the 4 hours.
That might be the dagger. That might be the dagger. Oh, thanks, Tom.
Actually, this is great. There's so many other ones. 2 weeks ago, Brady with a shot at Jerry Jones. Brady and Burkhardt doubling down in the next 10 years.
There was he tried to take. The problem is he's not organically funny.
Yeah,
he's very rigid and serious.
The Kevin Hart thing.
But he tried to take, because they said Kevin Hart is in the audience, and he said, the cameras saw. It was cameras saw Kevin Hart, and you're kind of thinking, is that a short joke? Oh, okay, yeah. And then Kevin Burkhardt picked up on it. It's you're trying to get back at him for the roast.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man, I don't know. I think at some point, where I do 100% agree with you, is it's hard to be an influential minority owner of a team. He's hands-on trying to rebuild that team.
Yeah, he's helping a lot.
And then also be And right now everyone's like, who cares? The Raiders aren't relevant. Right, but if he makes them somewhat relevant and Pete Carroll is there now, and let's say they sign Sam Darnold, and all of a sudden now they're like a 9-win team that plays a playoff game on Fox, for instance, right? Which they probably wouldn't, because I think CBS might get that playoff game. But yeah, like the only thing holding this back from being a massive conflict of interest is the Raiders' irrelevance on the football field. So.
Hey, Phil, I know you were next in line, but I think the segue is good.
Go.
Because I saw this.
Go.
So I saw us on Twitter, and we had a brief discussion on it last night, too, and I know it kind of caught eyes early. The score bugs. So here, I'm going to flash on the YouTube screen.
Wow, Declan.
Here are, for our visual audience, here are like some of the last handful of score bugs used on the Super Bowl broadcast. So the one
and they
from last
change
night,
them every year. They change the score bug for the Super Bowl, and it becomes the score bug for the next year. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah,
so,
like that. They debut their annual score bug at the Super Bowl.
So for our audio audience, I apologize here, but obviously you saw what it looked like last night, and here are some of the other ones that they've basically used in the last 15 years. They go back obviously to like St. Louis, New England, Tom Brady's first Super Bowl. You have the ass-kicking Seattle gave Denver in a Super Bowl. Actually, you know what? Like, I think the ones that stand out to me that I thoroughly enjoy the most is just like the simple one between the first Eagles and Chiefs Super Bowl and the Chiefs Niners Super Bowl. I like those. I think they're simple. I don't know what this was that they had yesterday.
I love this new one. It's great. It's great for old people too. It's big block letters, the big numbers. You can see it very clearly where the timeouts are. There's no wasted space. In fact, you're getting rid of wasted color space and opening up to see more of the field. Look at that. I can see so right below the 0 for the visual audience, the Kansas City Chiefs 0, I can see what down it is underneath the score bug. This is great.
I hate it. I hate it. Smaller. And here's the other thing. I don't like the blockness to it, but I thought, okay, I might not like that because it's just a change. But you know what really got me? What gets me is where the 1st and 10 and play clock is. Because your eye, if you look at on the Chiefs Eagles, where it's 14-7 from the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, that's all condensed. So your eyes are right there.
Yeah.
To look at the down and distance and play clock, my right eye has to shoot off.
No, it doesn't.
It's a terrible design. I absolutely can't stand it.
You know what? I love the combination.
Fox had a terrible season. And by the way, the last thing too is, and Dex is right about this.
We have a new podcast called By the Way starting tomorrow.
This goes to Dex's whole point since week 1. Fox had a terrible year. That studio show is garbage.
Okay, were they, for people that like, I was watching in and out of volume throughout the day, and I looked up and they were doing this like AI Jimmy Johnson, and I had it on mute. It was like, they're doing like Jimmy
weird.
Johnson's football life, and then they cut back and he's like crying, and my wife and I we turned the volume up, like, is he retiring?
Yep.
And so I texted you guys, and you guys were watching. What was that? Were they trying to like push Jimmy Johnson into retirement?
Well, was it 60 years in football or something?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, and at the end of the game on Fox, Menifee specifically said, "See you guys all next year." And Bradshaw's like, "Yeah, we'll be back next year."
See ya. I'll be 87, but still trying to do this.
Their problem is this: Bradshaw, Howie to a certain point, and Jimmy they've been around too long. And
decades.
And then the other problem is the new guy is Gronk, who, I'm sorry, in that role is awful. Gronk has his place, but he is so overexposed now, like commercials and this and that. But the other thing is he doesn't bring much. No. This show's all like, I think Fox had a terrible year. This is the worst year that they could have had the Super Bowl because everything came together to be like CBS's pregame for years was seen as, well, they're not Fox. CBS runs laps around them now.
So I don't know why more of these networks don't take a page out of Turner's book when it comes to the more laid back, loosey-goosey, fun vibe. First, I don't think you need to be wearing suits and ties in today's. Now, I like that they had kind of the Fox also has like the B team kind of pre-game where Julian Edelman and Carissa Thompson and there's a couple others. And Julian Edelman looks like a caveman and he's got like a white t-shirt underneath. It's a little more casual. But the only scenario in which Gronk can work on a pre and post game show is if you TNT-ify it and he becomes one of four. It's all laid back. You're not standing there in suits. It's weird. Like, why is he wearing a suit? He should literally be wearing a tank top or something. And you should be, and this is kind of, I mean, that's what McAfee's show is. And now McAfee's a talk show, 3 hours a day or whatever. But it's like he's wearing just a black tank top and talking like a normal dude about football. Do we need everyone to be wearing suits and ties and holding a pen? And I'm going to throw it to Terry. What did you think of the first half? I thought this. Like, yeah, man. I'm with you on this.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Okay. All right. Here's I think it's probably my last take of the show here for time purposes, but we touched on the Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings angle briefly on Purple Daily today. I have a more general. Aaron Rodgers, according to Jay Glazer, was flown to New Jersey last week so the Jets could tell him face to face, we're done. We're going to release you in March, post June 1st designation for cap purposes, but he will be able to either retire or pick a new team on like March 12th, according to Jay Glazer. My take is Aaron Rodgers is suffering the most embarrassing ending to a career of any other top 12-ish quarterback in NFL history. Because he is regarded as, at one point, he was regarded as like maybe a top 5 quarterback of all time or headed that direction. Yeah. He's definitely a top 12 quarterback of all time when you take his regular season statistics, right? So last night as we were watching that ass kicking, I was going through like, who are the 12-ish greatest quarterbacks of all time? And how did their career end? Did it end? Now, some of them ended statistically embarrassing with their original team or something, or like in the case of Brett Favre, because I think Brett Favre is a top 12 quarterback of all time. And then he had the weird Jets year, and then the last year with the Vikings was really embarrassing. But he did have that NFC Championship game. Once he left his original team, which now you're at risk of embarrassing yourself. Now you're out. Now you're Willie Mays in a Mets uniform, right? Mm-hmm. He did have that one incredible run in 2009. Mm-hmm. The only other top 12 quarterback besides Aaron Rodgers who went somewhere else and it was kind of embarrassing was Johnny Unitas. I think you have to go back to like
Chargers. I was just going to bring. That's fantastic.
He was Dan Fouts, 22-year-old Dan Fouts' backup, or did he come in as the starter?
No, I think he was the backup. And I also would say from around the same time period. Now, this guy's not top 12, but I think Namath ended up as a Ram, and I don't think it was particularly pretty because his body was so broken by that time.
Yep.
That's a great one, though. Love
if you take away the, like Mahomes, we'll see what he does in 10 years, and like the Josh Allens, take away the guys who are in their prime right now. Top 12 quarterbacks of all time. Brady left his original team, went to Tampa, won a Super Bowl, right? Yep. And then retired he was still throwing for 4,000 yards when he retired. John Elway retired a back-to-back Super Bowl champion in Denver. Joe Montana, okay, we're going to go away from our original team here and see what happens. He goes to Kansas City. They went to the AFC Championship game the first year. They won playoff games, and Joe Montana was still very good. Yep. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl in Miami, but didn't embarrass himself. He almost, there was a chance to come to the Vikings in 2000.
He bowed out a Dolphin, right?
But he bowed out a Dolphin.
Okay.
Yep. Brett Favre, we talked about. Drew Brees retired a Saint, still had a 106 passer rating in his final season. Even he had like a bum shoulder. Yep. Troy Aikman retired as a Cowboy after concussion problems. Steve Young retired a 49er, concussions. Yeah. Terry Bradshaw kind of just aged out and retired a Steeler. Roger Staubach retired a Cowboy playing at a really high level. And Johnny Unitas, like I think it's Aaron Rodgers.
I love it.
And then Johnny Unitas are the only ones that like strayed from their original team, and it was just a fart noise. So, yeah, I mean Brett Favre a little bit, but to have that run to the NFC Championship,
but he had the 2009 year, like that changes a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a great list. I would agree. And this is why I think Aaron is in particular is going to go kicking and screaming, because he's not going to want this to be it. So he's going to find another job.
Devastated. Yeah.
Yes. Well, because he is always, he can say what he wants, but in some ways, like he's turned into Favre as far as career arc goes, right? So he wants that opportunity. Like, he's going to call the Vikings. 100%. He is. And I hope they hang up on him, which they should at this point.
We're just in a different place in our lives here, is what the Vikings are going to say. We don't need these 1 year stopgap desperation.
Right, yeah, because we have a real coach that gets QB play now.
Yep. Yep. So, oh wow.
Hey, can I get one more in?
Oh, sure.
Can I get one more in, please?
Let me give you the chimes.
Thank you very much. How rich is it that there was a report yesterday that Kirk Cousins and the Falcons are no longer communicating? They're no longer talking.
Hey, you know what? I side with Cousins on this one.
I just think it's rich, the whole thing.
Shockingly. Obviously he is a Hall of Fame negotiator, and they strong-armed the Falcons into a ridiculous contract a year ago, and we all knew it.
I think I agree with you on
But the Falcons committed to the contract, and then the Falcons weeks later pivoted and used a top 10 pick on a quarterback, and then the minute that Cousins is saying, his camp is saying he had an arm injury, and
now they've come out
not fully recovered from the Achilles. He had it's a big PR push because he wants to play again.
Right.
But it's like, all right, dude, Falcons, you made this bed, and now you're going to, he's going to be our backup. We're okay having him be a $45 million backup, or maybe we'll trade him. And Kirk's like, to hell with you guys. You're going to cut me so I can go play for $1.5 million, and you pay the freight for my next contract like Russell Wilson did.
But this is what I wanted.
Team Kirk all the way on this one.
But this is what I wanted. Like originally it was, well, Kirk got benched, but he's still trying to help out, and he's still and it's like, just wait. I love this. This is the drama I wanted. This is the divorce. It's going to get messy. It's going to be ugly. It's glorious.
It's going to be great.
And it's not the Vikings' problem. But I mean, this is where I love it. And I don't look, I agree. The Falcons did the contract, which, by the way, if you're a Vikings fan, thank you, Falcons. They drafted a QB after Kirk had told the Vikings, if you're going to draft a QB, I'm not sure I want to stay. So like everything that Kirk didn't want has transpired. But originally, the reports of, it's going to be fine. Things will be fine here. It's like, you just wait. It's not going to be fine. And now it's not fine, and it's going to be ugly and messy. And I am here for every second of it. Grab your popcorn.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be, in fact, just across the league, we are a month away from, it's 4 weeks from today, right? The tampering window opens up where you can, or I guess maybe it's like Sunday night into Monday.
Hold on a second.
But it's going to be wild.
The calendar. Hold on a second. The 10th of March.
Yep.
Oh, the day our tickets go on sale.
That's right. Purple Daily Draft Party 2025. Tickets available March 10th. Scorenorth.com/draft.
You don't need to tamper.
No, you can just get tickets. Be great. All right, Purple Daily NFL takes.
Football.